Okay, we should be good.
Did he click the button? Are we live?
We're checking.
We can never get this straight. I have to guess every single time. Geez, did he click the button? Did he not click the button? Are we recording? Are we live? All right. Welcome back, everybody. Mark here. Hope you all had a good weekend. Enjoyed your week. Today, we got a man who really needs no introduction, but lately we went on a little bit of a binge where we were talking to some ladies of the industry, just to, try and balance things out a little bit. You know me, I'm going to ramble on for about 20 seconds here in the beginning, just gives people time to catch up and tune in and click on and maybe not miss anything important. Not like Mike and I will probably talk about too much important, but we'll have a good time, that's for sure. Anyways, we got some other artist interviews that were pre-recorded earlier in the pandemic or even before the pandemic. Those would be coming out in the next few weeks. We're finally getting the finished touches on the editing of those, and got some other cool new stuff in the works that'll be coming up soon enough. But you're not here to listen to me talk about that. So you all want to see and hear from Mr. Myke Chambers, a talented man that I have had the honor of knowing for many years. A great deal of respect for him. He is honestly one of the kindest and most generous people I know in the business. And I don't say that because he's right here. The man has a heart of gold. His big passion is recovery. And he does an awful lot in that area. So great admiration for that. Beyond his artistic skills and all that fun stuff. But yeah, good man, solid artist, and I'm sure he has a lot to share with us today. So well, Mike, how you doing, brother? It's good to see your face. It's been a while.
I'm doing great, man. First off, thanks for having me on. It's a big honor. I appreciate it.
You're always welcome, man. So you have the shop in Philly, Seven Sins, and you got the
Seven Swords.
Sister, Seven Swords. Nah, I like sins better than swords, man. Sorry about that, brother. But Seven
okay.
Swords, I'm sorry. I know that. I just camera gets you once in a while. But anyways, yeah, Seven Swords in Philly, and you got the sister shop down there in the Carolinas. Where are you spending most of your time these days? Up north or down south?
Well, lately I've been here in Asheville where I'm at now, pretty much since the pandemic. With the lockdown, I have a house with a good bit of property and a river and a pond, and I'm like, do I want to sit in Philly lockdown or do I want to sit out in the country in the mountains lockdown? So I came down here and I've been here for a while. I just got back from Philly. I was up in Philly for like 3 weeks. But most of my time right now here in Asheville.
No, it's a nice retreat, man. I'm sure I live in the middle of nowhere too. So why not? If you have that bubble to protect you and more of a relaxing surrounding, definitely take advantage of that. So how is Asheville doing, man? How's that shop taking off? I mean, it's kind of weird to open up a shop right before this whole shit show, so to speak. How's it going for you?
Honestly, the shop is doing amazing. I've got a super solid crew and things are just oh, sorry.
It's all good.
I got confused for a second there. The shop's doing amazing. I've got an amazing solid crew. Whenever I first opened, we're going on 2 years now. Whenever I first opened, I took over a shop that I used to work at here in Asheville. It was called Freaks and Geeks, and I worked here about 8 years ago. And I took over the shop, changed the name, rebranded, remodeled, and I inherited a crew. They were all solid tattooers. They were really good people. But whenever any transition, you go through different crews and stuff to find the right fit. And currently, I think that we have a really good, solid crew, good fit. Everyone gets along amazingly. It's always kind of awkward when, it's not saying someone, you know, is less than or anything. It's just maybe they just aren't vibing the same way, and eventually that just kind of smooths out and everybody meshes into a cohesive, you know, solid functioning machine, like a solid family.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have currently.
Yeah, I mean, I had my shop in Arizona for, you know, many moons, and then and there was a few periods where you get either a couple employees leave or come, and that can offset the balance to all of a sudden where the whole staff just kind of, you know, gets reset. You get one or two members that stay, and you might get a bunch that leave, and there's nothing wrong with that, to be honest with you. I like, I mean, we're all sort of gypsy souls to start with in this business, so
Yeah.
it's amazing to find anybody to sit tight in a shop for more than 5 years. I think, you know.
Yeah, it is very difficult to do. I mean, tattooers by nature, like you said, you know, we're nomadic. We like to move around, and honestly, I encourage that, because I mean that's what I've done my whole career. I've moved around, and you learn something from different people. I mean, there's definitely something to be said to have that home shop and like that solid crew that stays on for a while, and then you go out and guest spot and travel. And obviously right now with the coronavirus stuff going on, it makes it a little more difficult, but there's definitely something to be said to have that home base and to work off of. But
Yeah, for sure. I mean, going to
yeah.
shows, meeting other artists, being exposed to different mediums and different skill sets, and you know, you can learn a lot of what to do and a lot of what not to do too. You know, but I mean, yeah, I think anybody that just sits in their shop and expects the world to come to them is missing out on an awful lot, for sure. You know, I mean, I know you travel extensively. Well, used to. We all did. But but it'll get back to it one of these days. I'm personally enjoying this to some degree. It creates problems, it creates anxiety, but at the same time, I happen to be truly one of those, you know, try and make the best of a bad situation kind of guys. Once I get over the initial shock, I throw a tantrum and kick and stomp my feet in the beginning of any change in the beginning, but once I realize it, I generally try and make the best of it. So, I mean, my business is up. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you do, right? I mean, we're in a unprecedented time in history right now, and you know, I think that, you know, the whole world right now is going through some serious PTSD, and you know, I don't want to get on any sad notes, but you know, we've lost a lot of lives in this world, and that's some pretty serious shit. And it's, you know, I think a lot of people are trying to maybe kind of forget that it's still going on. But you know, at both of my shops, I'm really trying to take precautions and keep my clients as safe as possible. I supply all my clients with KN95 masks, and we have HEPA filters, and you know, air purifiers with HEPA filters, and UV light sterilization, like all over the shops. And we just we want to put our clients, you know, first and foremost, and not take any precautions. Most of all of my crew has gone through like first rounds of vaccinations.
Awesome.
I myself have done my first round of vaccination, waiting on my second. And, you know, I see a lot of good things. You know, you mentioned that your business is up. I mean, I think crazy enough is, I think a lot of people's business is up. You know, if your business is up, that means tattooing is up.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of times in any type of recession in any way, the things that do well are vices, like, you know, alcohol, bars, like, well, not so much bars, but alcohol, gambling, sex work, tattoos, like any type of like things that are considered a vice tend to do really well because it makes people feel better. Like they have like the like the lipstick, they call it kind of like the lipstick guide or whatever. I don't know. It was whenever they were buying in the depression, people would buy lipstick because it was like a cheap thing to buy, and it made them feel better, right? So they could market, like they could see when lipstick sales going up. But with the pandemic and everyone wearing masks, it went to like different types of like eye makeup. It switched
Mhm.
from the lipstick to eye makeup and stuff. But yeah,
Well, I mean, like you said, it's relatively depressing if you really sit and dwell on it and think about it. So people need to find a way to make the best of it. Find those little stop and smell the flowers where you can here and there. I mean, the inability to be close to family, and I personally lost a number of family members, in the last year or so that unfortunately I didn't get to spend those last days with, or whatever, stuff like this. I mean, not that my story is any worse than anybody's. It's not. People have done suffered through much, much worse, but it's you feel robbed because you're losing that time you could never get back. So that's a little bit depressing, and I don't want to get all doom and gloomy here. That's no fun.
yeah. But
We're
I
here
am,
to have a good time. So, but no, I get it, but I can't explain it. I'm rolling with it. I'm making the best of a weird situation, is what I'll say. Is
yeah.
business is up, and I don't want to say take advantage of it, but I'm gonna use this time to grow my business and grow uh, different aspects of my business in the media. I didn't have time to do this when I was traveling and doing 20 plus shows a year. I mean, I would never
Yeah.
find time to do this, but so this is something new for me. I'm getting to bring these personal conversations public. What I like to think is like, okay, the big and famous tattooers of the world today, they're rock star-esque or whatever. But they're real people. They're my friends. They're your friends. And these little chats and stuff, it's an effort to get people to realize that we are just people too. None of us is more special than anybody else, and there's nobody that understands that more than you. You are one of the most humble individuals that I've met in this business, especially for somebody that's achieved such a level of success. And like I said, I admire the living crap out of that. But this is your day. I want you to talk. I'm going to kind of try and shut up and step to the background. I want you to give me a little insight into Myke Chambers. What makes you who you are? I have a pretty good idea of that because I know you well enough. But I mean, I know your background. I know your history. I know about your brother. I know all this. A lot of the world may or may not know these stories, even though it's nothing you guard. It's stuff you share freely for others to learn from and grow from. But use this as a little bit of a platform. Tell us about you. What makes you such a good fucking human being? You know.
Um, well, thank you for all of the really nice words and nice. Um, I appreciate that, Mark. We've been friends for a really long time, and
I love you, man.
I love you too. What?
I don't mean to make you cry, man. I'm a little
Yeah.
weepy-eyed here too, but yeah,
It's
it's all good, man. It's good.
Um, what makes me me? I don't know. Fucking up a whole lot and learning from those fuck ups, because I've definitely done a whole lot of that. I take a lot of the blame for a lot of the situations and shit that I put myself in. Um, uh, I guess just a little bit. I don't know. Had a really crazy past, really kind of crazy childhood. My parents were amazing. My parents split up whenever I was pretty young, and they were well-meaning, and they were really, you know, wanted the best for me and did everything. I wasn't beat as a child or anything, and I was taken really good care of. But also, I didn't really understand my parents splitting up, and it was at a very developmental stage for me as a child when all of that happened. And people make mistakes. My dad made a lot of mistakes, and and people are human, but a child doesn't understand that. So I took that into growing up, and I quickly, I was a young punk skater kid, and all of my friends were getting fucked up. Everybody was getting high, smoking weed, drinking. I remember I the first time I ever like smoked weed, which I don't think there's anything wrong with weed, whatever, in moderation or whatever. I'm all about it. I just personally don't choose that for myself. But the fact is that was one of the first things that I ever did. And I remember when I first smoked, smoked my first joint, I took a hit, and then I sat back and I was just like, where the fuck has this been my whole life? Like, I felt normal, right? And I felt amazing, and I felt like I actually belonged. And I was like 12, and that's pretty shitty for a 12-year-old to not feel like they belonged anywhere and not feeling right. But it made me feel whole and good. And so, and parents are all, oh, that's bad, and I did it, and I'm like, no, that's really good. What the fuck are you talking about? So if you're saying this is bad, what else you're saying is bad is actually good. So I start moving on to stealing booze and drinking, and anyway, it escalates into a really shitty fucking drug habit, and a crazy life of crime and amazing adventures. I went traveling around the country riding freight trains, like crusty punk rock kid with a backpack and a dog and my little brother, and it was like Huck Finn shit. But underneath all of it, it was this just fear and desperation and regret for a lot of the mistakes that I had made. And I covered it up with drugs and alcohol and pretended like I was having an amazing time. But really underneath all of it, I was really this hurt, scared child.
You were running,
and
man.
Yeah. And I ended up eventually I got sober. And in the midst of all of this, I was tattooing. Like, I did my first stick and poke at like 12. I got a little cross that I still have here in the webbing of my hand. And my reasoning was that if I got a cross, that maybe my mom wouldn't totally fucking beat the shit out of me, which she never actually beat me. But I was still the generation where you got whooped.
Yeah.
And
I
but first tattoo at 12, and then 14, 15, making homemade tattoo machines, like jailhouse machines, tattooing friends. And then I did like a shitty ass apprenticeship later on in New Orleans. And then in the mess of all of this, like tattooing, punk rock, getting fucked up, traveling, it was all part of it. And anyway, fast forward, I ended up getting arrested, went to prison, 4 years in prison. Whole fucking crazy story there. Got out, thought I was good because I hadn't drank or done drugs, started drinking, doing drugs again. Next thing you know, I'm fucking homeless again, fucked up, back in jail, got sober. And then I finally got sober, and I was at a point that that I thought that I was gonna die a hopeless, junky piece of shit. And that just wasn't in the cards for me. I checked myself into a rehab I started working a 12-step program, and then I was removed from that nightmare. The desire to drink and get high was just gone after a lot of work on my part. Like, I mean, I did like therapy, and I still do therapy like once a week, and I did therapy and I do meetings and all kinds of shit. But the cornerstone to all of that is continuing to help other people that are trapped in that nightmare, and reaching out and speaking at rehabs, and just being there, being, every time I do, well, I don't really do magazine interviews too much anymore because that's kind of like not a thing, but all the magazine interviews and all the things that I had done before, I was real clear to always put that story and that message of hope in there. And it reached a lot of people, and I used my social media platform to also reach people in that way. And because there is a way out, people don't have to fucking live that way. And there was a long time that I didn't know that, and I thought I was too far gone, and I was just going to die that way. But
you hit your rock bottom, man. I mean, you, unfortunately, I mean, my view on let's say sobriety or any addiction and getting out of it is that only when you physically, mentally hit some sort of a rock bottom, at that one point in time, you make a choice to either straighten out or die. And we see it way too often within our industry with friends. I mean, some people don't get that last final, smack in the forehead, and then they're just gone. It's
too late.
sad. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely hit a rock bottom, but I had hit a lot of rock bottoms, but at those times I didn't know there was a solution. There wasn't someone telling me, hey, there's a way out at that time. So I just kept going. Like, there were plenty of times that I was sitting in an abandoned building somewhere, like withdrawing from heroin and fucking the CD in Seattle or New York City or wherever, and just wanting to die and just wishing for the end. And if someone would have been there and said, hey, I know a way out of this, and I think I would have took it. But everything happens, in the time that it's supposed to. And unfortunately, a lot of people are dying from this disease, and it is a disease, and it's needless. But I mean, I say needless, but there's this saying that, sometimes people have to die so other people can live.
Yeah.
And that hits fucking hard.
Well, I mean, one of the smartest things we can do as humans is learn from other people's mistakes. I mean, if you can't do that, you're destined to fail out of the gate. Yeah, I just love I mean, I did drugs when I was younger, everything. And, I mean, I quit doing any of that in 86. Okay. And then I went 30 years with like not even smoking a joint or nothing. And only once Massachusetts legalized did I occasionally take a little puff here and there. And that's really only when I can't sleep so much, it helps relax me. But I never had the, let's per se, addiction where I was like desperate or withdrawal or anything like that. Knock on wood, fortunately for myself, I didn't realize, because I've never been there, that you would have taken the offer if somebody had explained that to you. Because what I see is I'm always willing to listen and even help people, especially people I know when I can. But what I encounter a lot is me trying to help people that aren't ready to be helped, or they're not ready to help themselves. And you sort of touched on it a minute ago where you weren't ready yet, with the other times you thought you'd hit rock bottom, you just weren't ready yet. And finally you got to the point where you were ready, and and I think in my mind, okay, and I could be totally wrong, I believe in the philosophy of when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So those offers might have been there in the past. You just either didn't see them, weren't capable of seeing them, or didn't want,
yeah.
I mean, so when you were ready, it was obvious to you, and you just took that path, and that's awesome, man. And the fact that you offer that path up to others on a constant basis is one of the things I admire most about you. I've physically seen you reach in your pocket and give somebody in need a lot of money. You know, I mean, and and that just threw me, because I'll do the little handouts here and there or whatever, but I just, you know, more or less, I'd rather just take them to the liquor store and buy them a bottle, because I know what they're going to do most of the time. But you sincerely want to help them, or I just want to, you know, give them a little bit of money and let them go enjoy what they want to do. That's the way I see it. You know, they're not going to take that money and go get clean and sober. I know that, you know, 99.9% of the time. But if it's at a point where it's something they're still enjoying and whatever, if it's making them happy for this much time, you know, all the more power to them, I guess. You know, they're not ready yet. So, but you have a different philosophy, you know, and that's what I can enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, if I definitely judge things based on like intuition and gut feeling on different situations. Like, you know, I've taken quite a few people to rehab, let people sleep on my couch. Like, there was this one guy that the rehab was totally full, and he would have probably died had he not kept drinking. So like, I had to keep buying him booze, like Steel Reserve cans, for like 3 days, taking them around with me and then getting him into rehab, you know. And that guy's actually sober today, which is
awesome,
which is
man.
pretty amazing. You know, not everybody does. A lot of people don't make it. I've definitely had my fair share of helping people that eventually just succumb to this horrible disease. But so there you go. That's kind of what
that kind of
makes
makes
me. I mean, I think it's knowing that hardship and that struggle. You know, when I got sober, you know, I'm going on 16 years now.
Congratulations.
But you know, when I got sober, I had nothing. I was living under a bridge, and within a year, I had my own shop. A year and a half, I had was traveling the world, flying first class, being flown to Brazil and like all over the world. And it just blew my mind, just the way things started happening. It was literally like, you know, I'm not saying I'm rich, but it was like a rags to like whatever the fuck, you know, it goes to. And I think that's a direct result of trying to do the next right thing, you know, and trying to stay positive and manifesting. I mean, our powers of manifestation are fucking immense. It's just so mind-blowing, like what a positive mental attitude will do in your life and what a negative attitude in your life will do, because you know what, everything looks pretty shitty when you have your head up your ass.
Yeah, and well, those qualities also, I believe, you know, cosmic forces, whatever you want to say, like attracts like, man. So like, we're friends because we have an awful lot of similar thoughts and traits. You know, we're two totally different individuals, and there's probably many things that we disagree on, but for the most part, I think we're in sync a lot, you know, upstairs as far as business goes, and motivation and wanting to help others. I mean, that's part of why I do these things here. Is these are motivational to other people. They're I don't want to say I'm a mentor, because I'm not, even though I do to some degree mentor other people. But that's what it is. It's like it's building this network of people and building positive situations which can inspire other people to want to do better. I mean, that's what it's all about. For me, anyways, it's like I'm doing okay. I don't have a lot of complaints. I'm not rich either, you know, but I'm doing just fine. And if I can help other people get to the next level, that's that makes me so happy. That's kind of my drug, you
and
know?
and that's what's up, and that's what makes you awesome. You are definitely one of my favorite people out here
Oh, thank
in
you,
this
brother.
industry. And I mean, we haven't gotten a chance to talk in a little while. I mean, we used to sit on the phone for a couple of hours at a time.
Yeah, it's been a
But
while.
yeah,
Yeah. Which is amazing because like the whole lack of personal interaction, this would have been kind of the perfect time to spend days on the phone, but
I know.
it's the world is just fucking backwards right now.
It is. It is. Yeah. And many hours, in person hanging out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
All right. So we know a little bit about Myke Chambers' past and what makes him, I mean, all of our pasts is collectively what brings us to where we are now. And that it sucks that you had to have such a traumatic past to get where you're at. But like you said, man, it's just part of the recipe. It's what it took to get you where you're at. So, and you have to accept that. Now into the tattooing, man. I mean, okay, the hand poke at 12, homemade stuff at 14. What was, if you can remember back, what was your first exposure to tattooing? What made you think that you just had the slightest interest in not so much as a career or whatever, but like it just grabbed you? Can you remember that moment at all? Like an uncle with a sailor tattoo, or just
No, I don't remember any of my family members having tattoos,
so
honestly.
sort of the punk
Um,
scene, or
Maybe they did. Yeah, it all came from just like s- skate culture, the punk
rebellion?
scene and rebellion and just fucking juvenile angst. And most of my tattoos were driven out of fuck you. And I mean, I've lasered like both of my arms, but originally I just had like anarchy symbols and fucking all just punk scribble shit. Literally, I fucking scribbled down my arm, and I thought scribble, and that's actually kind of a big style now. I see people like doing scribble, and I'm like, oh, I did that back in '95. Um, and
Ahead of your time, always, man.
yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of the tattoos I did were like I don't know. It's like a crusty traveler punk culture. It's just like lines and dots, and it's kind of like a improvised tribal, not like the sharp pointy tribal, or it probably has a closer root to a native tribal, but like the tattoos on my face. I mean, I've had those. Shit, I got the tattoos on my face in I want to say 94, 95. The triangles were originally dots, and then I have dots here and here, and I got the dots tattooed on my face with a homemade rotary machine and a battery pack under a bridge in
Again,
Denver.
cutting edge technology, man, way ahead of your time.
Yeah, and I don't even know where I was going with all that shit, but I just started rambling.
It's totally cool.
I
So,
kind
but
of
like, so you went from all this scribbling to some of the cleanest lines and precise, elements in your tattoos now. I mean, that's a big jump. What drove you to the traditional style of tattooing? What was your attraction there?
um, well, my tattooing went from just stick and pokes, and then like punk tattoos and just little tribal shit, to new school and like fine line black and gray and biomech black and gray. I did a predominantly black and gray for the longest time, and I did a lot of like I kind of went with a lot of the flow of the way things were going and at the time. um and then I guess it wasn't really until I got sober that I started gravitating towards traditional, but I didn't really want my stuff to look like everyone else's. So, and I was still really influenced by new school colors. Like I did like seafoam highlights on everything, and just slowly it just gravitated towards a type of traditional, which I can't even tattoo anything without it looking like I actually did it. I guess everything like really has, everything I do has the same type of feel that I do. And it just kind of started gravitating that way. I definitely wanted to have a style that was my own and not take anything from other people. Although you have to, like, you kind of pull this and you pull that and put it all together, and you know,
Every artist out there does.
Yeah, a lot of things that I did were accidents that I didn't mean to do, and I was like, oh, that kind of actually looks cool. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But like, I'm mildly OCD with like cleaning and line work and things like that. So when I'm tattooing, I have a very high attention to detail. Although I look at other people's tattoos and I see where they're a lot looser with what they're doing, and I think it's amazing, but it's very hard for me to do that.
Me too, man. I'm too rigid with my drawings, my paintings, my tattoos.
And I'm really trying to break that these days. I'm trying to not do that. I'm trying to, like, I'm like, oh, that one leaf needs to be tilted just a little bit this way, and this one just a little bit this way to get the proper balance. And you know, and it's just now I'm just like, you know what, fuck it, that leaf can go there and this can go there, and it doesn't have to be like perfect, and it doesn't have to be this or that, or you know.
I'm glad you're finding the freedom to do that, man, because I don't know if I could ever get to that stage. But I get one second here, because like while we're talking a little bit about traditional tattoos, we have a question in here. I just had text to me or whatever from Justin wants to know, is it okay to put white in traditional tattoos?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got a Sailor Jerry book of Sailor Jerry's actual tattoos, and that dude used so much fucking white. He probably went through just as much white as he did red. It's like there's a lot of white. And my theory on white is traditional doesn't usually use so much white for highlights, though. It's like really all whatever you want to do, but like filling spaces, like if you're going to do like whiskers on a tiger, like, and you double line them instead of a single line, then you want to fill that with a white. Yeah, like right here, you can see where I put white in that, because what that white's going to do is it's going to hold that space, and it's going to keep those black lines from closing in and becoming one solid black line. So I will use white to fill in spaces, or you can see I did like a little glare on an eyeball. I'll use white on eyeballs, on glares on teeth, just to give them a shiny appearance and still maintain the integrity of a traditional style, although it's kind of a looser traditional style, and modified.
Yeah, I love the classic appeal, and I love the idea that there's people out there this day and age that still want to stick to a traditional style. But I think people also need to understand that the reason that, you know, traditional tattooers only used a few colors was that's all they had access to, really. I think if they had a full palette, they probably would have been trying to, you know, emulate as much art as they could, just as we are these days. You know, I mean, they were working within the limits and the tools that they had. So that's the way I see it.
I mean, they were innovators. They wanted to go to the next level. They were constantly trying to find the perfect tattoo geometry for their machine to make it more efficient, to make it work better. They were constantly trying to mix new pigments and come up with new colors. And you know, if someone had, down the road had purple or whatever, then all the business was going over there. Oh, he's got this purple, or oh, he's got this. I mean, they were innovators. They were working with what they had. And if they saw, if you put a machine, if you put a wireless pen machine in Owen Jensen's hand, he would have like lost his shit and been like, that's my opinion. They wouldn't have turned their nose up at it. They would have been like, this is fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
My job is now gonna, I can do this tattoo so much like more efficient. And I love coils, and I use coils. I use whatever tool is going to do the best job. And, and sometimes that's a coil, sometimes that's a rotary, sometimes that's a pin. And I don't scoff at that. And
you have various tools in your box, and each one excels at different things. And then
traditional tattooing is simply honoring a tradition. So I understand the hardline coil users and like hardline, and I'm not gonna, I'm gonna stick to the basic primary 4 colors, and that's all I'm doing, because they are really trying to honor that tradition of the way that the modern tattooing forefathers did it. And I understand that, and I respect that.
Absolutely.
That's not necessarily what I do, because I like to, create art, and sometimes I do stick to it and sometimes I don't. Yeah.
No, I mean, I appreciate the fact that they are trying to honor a certain era, a very, very, they have a niche, and that's what they want to follow. And that's cool. And that's their prerogative. And it's awesome. The artwork a lot of these people produce is breathtaking. But at the same time, I mean, they still, hop on their iPhone and use their computers and drive to the shop in their car. None of them are walking to work or riding a horse. So there's, you got to let technology in some areas. So, but like I said, if they want to stick in a certain area, genre, awesome. But it's the guys that oppose people that want to utilize the technology and the new colors and stuff like this. Those people that kind of bother me a little bit. It's like, hey, just let other people do what they want to do. Let them build their portfolio.
No matter whether it's religion or politics or whatever, people have their right to their own opinion in their own lives, and who am I to infringe on someone else's? So like, if someone wants to go, talk shit or discredit someone else based on, what ink they're using or what machines they're using, or, whether they're painting or they're doing their design on an iPad, it's, we all have equal choice, and I'm definitely, pro-choice and fucking everything in life.
Yeah. But everything in moderation too, man. You can't be in excess in any areas where you become out of balance, and that just, creates a whole different set of problems. So you just mentioned ink here. We got one other question here, and I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but because, I know you have your own ink set, with Tramp, who's an amazing guy or whatever too, but it says, do you guys have an opinion on Intense ink? Personally, I think Mario's a great dude. I don't know him closely at all, but I know he's a powerhouse in the business, and from friends that I have that are very close with him, he's an amazing dude, and he makes a good ink. So what's your opinion?
I don't I've used Intense years and years and years ago. I have not used it in any way in recent history, so I have no opinion on it. And I've met Mario, a few times and had some really good conversations with them. And, I don't know Mario enough to make a judgment. He was always very nice to me. But yeah, I don't really have an opinion there. I can only speak with what I know.
Right.
On what I know.
My opinion is truly based on dear friends whose opinions matter to me, that say he's a really rock solid guy. I know he's a talented artist. I know he's a brilliant businessman. He's achieved levels of success that most would just kill for God's sake. So, but the inks, I'll be honest with you, I've never used them. Other than maybe borrowing a color or two at a show, I see somebody else's palette, I want to throw it in a piece I got or whatever. But yeah. The only reason I don't sell it is because I've never had a massive demand for it. He's huge overseas. I
Yeah.
don't, and there's a big following for it here in the States, but my customers have never really requested it much. And I can't go spending, $50,000 or more to put a new ink on the shelf to appease a few customers. If I had a big demand, I would put it on the shelves. I have no problem with it at all. So, but okay, enough with, I think that's it for our questions. But okay, so tattooing. So what was the first professional shop you were in, man? Where you said, you went straight from under the bridge to your own shop, or did you work at various shops?
No. I was working at shops and on Hollywood Boulevard
Oh yeah.
in LA. So I worked at most every shop on Hollywood Boulevard and a few on Sunset. And yeah, that's really the predominant place I worked at, because I was in LA for quite a while. And and then I got sober, and then I've been, opened up my own shop, before I got sober, then I worked at my friend Larry the Leopard, his shop, Telepathic Tattoo. I worked there for a while, and rest in peace, Larry. He was a really good dude and had his demons, but I don't know if you ever got to meet him, but
no, the name I know, but I never got to know him.
Yeah, he was the fully tattooed like leopard guy. He was on like Ripley's Believe It or Not for like, yeah.
I met him, but we never, some of the full coverage guys. Enigma's a good friend of mine, and then I remember there's his old lady Katzen from back in the day. And a lot of those people I know, some of those people I knew really well. Larry, I've met him, but we never got to sort of really hang out, get to know each other. Yeah. So you developed I guess you kind of had to develop a pretty good street hustle working the LA shops and stuff like that. I mean, because that had to be just, tattoo after tattoo after tattoo all day, right?
That was just straight grinding all day long. I would get to the shop at, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock. And then I wouldn't leave sometimes until 3, 4 in the morning. Damn. And it was all like small banger tattoos all day long, every day. And that was at a time when it was just so busy. You barely had time to, sit and think. You were just hustling. And it was a really good time in tattooing. I must admit, it was a lot of fun just grinding in a street shop. And
that was in the mid 90s.
Yeah, mid 90s, early 2000s.
Weren't that many shops. I mean, there were there, but I mean, like in general, there weren't that many shops in the US. I mean, that was about the period when the explosion really was starting. So you used to, if you had a shop prior to that, you generally could stay nonstop busy no matter what. Nowadays is the era of, cancellations, for God's sakes. It's all my whole news feed running down the screen here is people bitching about, cancellations. It's just kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Take deposits, guys.
Yeah. No, that's, take big deposits.
I mean, I used to take $200 deposits, and most people didn't cancel on a $200 deposit. And then I lowered it to 100, and most people don't cancel on that. A time or two they do, but then, they're taking, then they've got 3 months to 6 months to wait to get back in.
Yeah.
But definitely take deposits.
Okay.
Lately things have been super busy. Like, we were talking about earlier. I guess all the stimulus checks came in, and it's hustling and grinding. Both of my shops are modeled after classic street shop walk-in shops. But most of my guys are all booked out, and they'll take walk-ins wherever they can. The guys here will just grind on walk-ins all day, like in between their appointments and stuff. So I mean, call-ins, we're doing call-ins right now. You know, you can go call in from in front of the shop, and if we can get you in, we will.
So between the big custom work, people are doing the bangers off the wall still.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right. While you're giving advice and tips out here for folks, one thing I've been asking people lately is like, you got any good tips to get the most out of the convention experience for when that starts back up again? And it will be probably by, you know, I think it'll be hot and heavy again by late summer or fall. But you know, what do you do to ensure? Or not nowadays. Nowadays, you're going in probably fully booked. But when you were still hustling, what would you do to ensure you would have a successful show?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm typically fully booked at a show prior, but I bring my crew, and they may not all be fully booked. And you know, we'll fly over to Italy or something, and we'll have like 4 booths. And the secret to that is presentation, like nice banners, nice setup on your table. Like we do tablecloths, like custom tablecloths and stuff like that. But the main thing is having a nice selection of pre-drawn designs. I find that people don't like picking colored flash. So if you painted flash, typically they're not inclined to get that tattooed. They're more inclined if you have all of your drawings, line drawings cut out and placed on the table, they're more inclined to come by and pick that off the table, as opposed to opening up a book with a bunch of line drawings. They're less inclined. If you spread them out on your table and you have line drawings, and even more so if you put the price, because they don't even have to ask you. They're like, okay, cool. And the magic number is 200. I find that the magic number for someone just walking around, they can do 200. So if you base your designs off of $200, you can, you know, crank out a whole bunch of those in one day, and you're set.
Nice. That's a good point, man.
I mean, that's yeah.
How do you see, say, so you think that's a magic number that applies to most areas? Because some people will say, well, if I go to a show in this metro area, yes, I can get top dollar. If I go here, I people won't give me change. So,
nah, I find that that's a pretty good number most places, because people are going to a tattoo convention, understand that they're going to be spending around that. You know, I mean, and you may have people that don't want to spend $200.
Yeah, but you may not want them as clients.
You may not really want to do that, because you're getting to do something that you like and that other people are wanting to do. And so you let those people walk on by and get the people that are wanting to spend that. And if they're wanting to spend more, then they'll probably talk to you about it.
Right.
So
they'll see something and go, hey man, if he's willing to do this for 200, what can I get for 4 or 5?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But you are also, a lot of times you want to kind of stick to what you have drawn, and you tell people, I'm actually just doing this, unless it's something that you can draw really quick, because you don't want to sit there and have to spend a lot of time drawing a custom tattoo where you could have done 3 of your other tattoos.
Right.
Unless it's just dead and that's all you can get, then do it. But typically you don't want to spend all that time drawing when you could have done other stuff.
Okay. Now, when you go to a show, are your artists working the booth, or do you generally bring somebody to handle the front of the booth for you?
It just depends. It just depends. A lot of times, you know, if I know the show is really busy, then I will bring someone. I'll bring like our manager, or if there's an apprentice at the time, we'll bring them to work the booth. But you know, it really just depends.
Cool. All right, cool. That's trying to think here. So do you have any plans to do any shows later in the year, or anything you have scheduled for late in the year, or are you just sitting and waiting like the rest of us?
Well, I'm thinking about going. There's going to be a Rome convention, and and they reached out to me, and I wrote them back and told them I didn't think I was going to be able to make it, but I think I'm going to contact them because it's going to be in September. And I think by then the amount of vaccination should be high enough, and the crew will be vaccinated, and maybe we could go do that Rome show. But I do think I'm cutting back on all of that. So
yeah, me too. I'm still going to go back to shows. I love them, but I'm probably going to be more selective because what I find is I love being home. I love being with my family. I'm getting a lot more done. So I'm going to be a little more selective about where I go and how much time I spend on the road.
yeah, well, I do love being home, but I'm about to hop in a Sprinter van and travel around the country.
You better
So
come through here.
so you guys be on the lookout for me coming to your town. I think first I'm heading out west, and I'm gonna hit Colorado and the desert and the high desert, and then go up Pacific Northwest and stuff, because I just haven't been out that way. But then I will be making it over to Mass and Connecticut, and
Awesome.
head up to Maine. I'll probably go the High Line, so I'll go through the
Right down
south,
90.
go up the west, and then come through like Idaho and Montana, yeah, North Dakota, and then Minneapolis, and then over that way. So
you're lining up guest spots all along the way, or you're just going to be winging this?
I'm just gonna fucking wing it. I mean, I'm sure I'll sit back and then I'll just kind of trying to plan it out. But I'm really just kind of winging it. Here in a couple of weeks, I'm going to LA, and I'll be in LA for 3 weeks at Iron and Ink on Melrose. I do have a couple spots if anybody's watching that wants to get tattooed in LA. I think I literally have like 2 spots left out of 3 weeks. Which I could use those to go to the beach.
That's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at
Yeah.
all, man. It's a little bit warmer down south and out that way for sure. I know it was 70 here a couple days ago. It was in the 70s, and I woke up this morning. I live at a higher elevation, and I had snow flurries out my window, and I was like, "What the hell?" I mean, just
Yeah.
welcome to New England. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes; it'll change. So
Yep. It's getting a little crazy.
So
Or it always is a little crazy. I think everyone has that saying in every state.
it's possible. Except for San Diego. It's sunny and 85 in San Diego just about every day, regardless.
You know, you would think it's sunny every day in San Diego, but there's so much like weather that comes off. It's kind of like overcast a lot there. Like there's like they have entire like 2 months of overcast. It's weird.
4 months of snow.
Yeah. No, they have great weather, but like pretty much every night in San Diego you're wearing a hoodie, which is like perfect for me. You know, fuck it. Maybe I'll just move to San Diego.
Too expensive. But I know Mr. Giltonani would love to have you just hanging out in the shop once in a while. You must know Tahiti Gil, right?
I do.
Okay.
He tattooed me.
Awesome. You got your
I got
eye.
like his I got his
your eye of Gil?
I got the eye of Gil right here.
I got the eye of Gil. Yeah. Love you, Gil. Trying to get him on here, but he's always camera shy. He always wants to do like this half face on the screen thing.
I can relate with that.
Little honor to Gil. Cool. You mentioned taking apprentices to shows earlier. How frequently do you have apprentices in the shop, and are they your apprentices or are they just shop apprentices? How do you usually handle that?
I recently finished an apprentice. I went a long time of not apprenticing people, and then I kind of felt that the industry needed I'm not saying that I'm like out here saving anything or anything like that, but I felt like I had a good amount of like experience and maybe ethics, and that I could help bestow, because a lot of people are coming into this and there's a lot of things are getting watered down, maybe, so maybe I could help, and just like, I don't know. I don't know. I just want to pass on a lot of the things that I've learned over the years. So I've apprenticed a few people. I apprenticed a girl named Gianna Phillips in Philly, and I know she's at a shop now in New Jersey, and she's a really solid tattooer. She did a 2-year apprenticeship, and then I apprenticed Cullen Quinn. He finished his apprenticeship just like a month over a year ago. And then I said I wasn't going to take on any more apprentices. And this kid down here in Asheville just kept bugging the shit out of me. Like, he would like come in every day and he's like, hey, can I clean some shit? Or, hey, can I just hang out and paint? And I'm like, and he's like super nice and like, just like very courteous and respectful. And it took everything for me to get him to stop calling me sir. And I'm like, look, you can't fucking come around here anymore if you keep calling me sir. Like, that's just not gonna fly. And then eventually I was like, all right, fuck it. Like, you're not giving up. So I agreed to take him on as an apprentice. And
Hard to find that kind of motivation and dedication these days, I mean,
yeah.
or people will do that for like a week, and then they just sort of give up and move on to the next one. So
Oh, he did it for months.
that's awesome,
Like,
man. That's awesome.
he did it for months. And I kept telling him, I'm like, we're not taking on. He's like, oh, that's cool. I just want to hang out. And he would just come and hang out. And finally I'm like, all right.
If you're going to be here, you might as well be doing something. Yeah.
Yeah. And but yeah, so that, and then my manager at my Philly shop, Casey, we recently had a meeting and we decided to take him on as a shop apprentice, as my apprentice, but I'm not in Philly quite enough. And so whenever it's time for him to, like, I'm doing a lot of things remotely, but there's a great crew in Philly that are able to work with him. And he's sending me, assignments that I give him assignments, and he's, texting me pictures of everything that he's doing and stuff like that. And then when it comes time for him to learn to tattoo, which will be a year in, then he's gonna either I'll go there for a month to get him started, or he'll come to where I am. And so I have really high standards when it comes to apprentices. Like, I'm not gonna release an apprentice unless they're like a solid tattooer that can really hang with any traditional tattooer at that level. Typically, when someone's wanting to apprentice with me, it's for like a traditional style. But if, I'm not opposed to someone realism, but I don't know that I would be the best person, but I could take them to that level of getting solid, tattoos down, and then they could go from there and do with whatever they want to with it. But I require them to be at this level, like they can hang with any tattooer. Not like, oh, it's like I'm, in my first year out of an apprenticeship and your tattoos are still like not good. Because if you're charging for tattoos, you need to be just as good as every fucking one else, which is sadly, it's like 90% of people like tattoos are not quite there. And that comes from like people that are not quite there teaching other people. I feel like, sometimes people can't get it, but I feel like most people can if they're taught properly. Then it's a hard road, and eventually, you have to teach yourself and pick up along the way. But Cullen is just fucking slaying tattoos. Like, you would not think that he's, a year out of his apprenticeship. You would think like he's seasoned like 5-6 years. And same with Gianna. She's just killing it. She's like 3 years out of her apprenticeship, and you would think, she's like, 5-6 8, 9, 10 years in. And because whenever someone comes into a tattoo shop and they want to get tattooed, they're expecting to get tattooed by a professional with a standard, and that's just not always the case when you walk into a tattoo shop. But if you walk into a Seven Swords, you can fucking believe that you're going to get that standard.
That's awesome, man. No, I've been saying for decades, 90% of everybody out there tattooing shouldn't be. I mean, and it sucks as a supplier to say that, because that's kind of my bread and butter, man. That's my retirement plan, is people tattooing, and the majority of the people out there are, so at best. And that's sad, but I'm a bit of a tattoo snob, so I prefer to hang out with folks like yourself and other people that don't just look at it as a job. I mean, it's a career. It's not even just a career. It's a fucking lifestyle.
It's absolutely a life. I'm not personally, I have lots of friends, honestly, that are not really good tattooers, and okay. and whatever, they're still my friends, and I don't judge, people in that way. I just don't. I will help them if help them along the way. And honestly, like, I help people with recovery, but I also really enjoy to help people in their careers and help people push forward and and take things to the next level. It's amazing what happens usually whenever I hire someone onto one of my shops, it's not someone that's like at some like high level, like huge followings and stuff like that booked out. It's usually someone coming in that's been trying to get to that point. And it's amazing to watch people come in to the shop and just grow exponentially, and just really come into their selves as a tattooer, as an artist, and as a person. I really encourage bouncing ideas off of each other. I'll ask an apprentice an opinion on what color palette I should use and color choices or design choices. I'll ask everyone in the shop what they think and kind of bounce things off of each other. And that's been adapted by everyone in my shops. We all like to really consult everyone else in the shop, and it helps us all grow. And also it helps you to feel a part of, versus and also you'll notice the shop here, it's kind of dark and stuff, but the shop's totally open. So when we're in here tattooing, we're hanging out with everybody. And it's really a family, because I've worked in shops where it was private rooms, and it really cuts off the energy of a tattoo shop. And then people can get disconnected and start feeling separated and feel like, oh, that person doesn't like me or whatever. But, a lot of we have anxious creatives, and people, have anxieties, and everyone in the world or whatever. And, and when you come in, maybe, someone new starts off and they may be a little nervous, but then everyone is just this family, and we laugh and joke and have so much fun, and we really enjoy being here. And that's what I love about the street shop feeling, is you get that camaraderie, you get that growth off of each other that you're not going to get in a private studio. This is a fucking tattoo shop. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of fun. And granted, there's so much to cover there that, I am extremely progressive with everything that we do, and all inclusive to everyone. I'm not like, oh, this is a fucking, I don't know, old hardline shit. We're allies. We're fucking total allies to everything. And we do not exclude anyone from coming in and getting tattooed at our shops or working at our shops. I say ours because I feel like the shops are everyone's, even though it's, I'm the owner, run it, shit. But
yeah, when I say people shouldn't be tattooing, I don't necessarily mean just because of they're not multiple art degrees and cutting edge artists, but
they're doing bad tattoos.
Some people are doing bad tattoos, but some people are just in the business for the wrong for the wrong reasons. I mean, I know tattooers who are mediocre tattooers. It's a solid tattoo. It's whatever, but they have the best client skills, and they are just loved and adored by the other artists and their clients and everybody else. And they're putting their heart and soul into every damn tattoo they do. Those people belong still, but I mean, I because they're giving it their all every single day, I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that's it. It is a lifestyle. It's a passion.
As long as their clients are happy and not disgruntled and like
Right.
really
And it's not a
upset with the
fucked up
tattoo they
tattoo.
got, as long as even a fucked up tattoo, as long as the client likes that, fuck it. It doesn't really matter. And and I mentioned, I'm talking about, this is a tattoo shop, it's a street shop versus like private studios. That's someone's choice. If they're going to do a private studio, I don't like hold that against them, but I will still, hold on and try and keep that bit of tradition alive, because personally, I feel that's what makes up tattooing, and in that traditional aspect of tattooing, it needs to be kept alive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And you apparently have the ability to see potential in people. I had that skill set too when I had my shop back in the day. I would have other people on the staff come in and go, "Why did you hire this guy?" But then 6 months down the road, this guy's kind of leading the pack in some areas. And there was even a point where, back in the magazine days, we had a local magazine in Arizona, Tattoo Scene magazine. At one point, we were like head to head with a big chain of shops, and at one point, I even ran an ad that was Body Art Tattoo Incorporated, the official training ground for blank blank tattoo. Just why not, to be an ass? Because I would find these people, cultivate them, they grow in our shop environment, and then they, unfortunately, I find people, yeah, they would take them. They would come and recruit them with more money or whatever. And unfortunately, I had the ability to see the potential for talent and not so much integrity. So, what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, tattooers move around, and I definitely have had turnover of tattooers. It wasn't because they didn't like working at the shop, but it typically going to private studios where they see their potential to make more money, and it is what it is, but that's maybe a different subject where I'll bring on someone that I see potential in, and then use the machine that's 7 swords and everything, and then they get a solid clientele and get booked out to where I'm paying tons of advertising and doing the reputation of the shop and everything, and then I do all this to get them booked out, right? I'm paying all this advertising and doing all this stuff so that they can then get booked out, so that they're solid, making money and doing really well. And then at the time that the benefit of taking them on and getting them booked out and doing all that is time to reap that benefit, they're like, I don't need you anymore.
Right. Well, and again, I have no problems. I've never had a problem with an artist leaving the shop and going to learn and grow and do something. My only beef has always been when it's leaving to go to a direct competitor. That's insulting. It's disrespectful. And back in the day, that wouldn't have flown at all. But unfortunately, we don't get to conduct life the way we used to.
Yeah.
To some degree.
Yeah. I try not to let it, like get to me. I'm like, people leave, people go, whatever. I just, enjoyed the time that I had with them. And, and I like to maintain friendships with people that are no longer at the shop. And, for the most part, everyone that's worked at my shops, I am still, on really good terms with and friends with.
I have the same experience with most of them, and a lot of them, even that left on, say, bad terms to open their own place or go somewhere else, a lot of them have come back some point later in life after owning a shop and come back and acknowledge that they understood now. They understood why I did what I did, or why I chose certain paths or whatever, because they were all smarter than me when they worked for me because they'd never been in my shoes. But once they walked in those shoes a little while, most of them had the decency to come back and, and respectfully, make amends or whatnot. So there's very few people that work for me that I no longer get along with. I can honestly only say one, and he was an apprentice and he was a shitbag, but so be it. But I think we got one
Yeah.
more question here. Let me open my phone here. Let's see. Mr. Jeff Frank. There, Wolfie, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's old as dirt. But
What's up, Wolfie?
all right. He says he enjoyed the podcast, but he says it's I don't know at what time this came in or what it was a response to. It says it's all about evolving with the times. Call it whatever you like, but the more you can adapt to taking what's available to make your tattoos look more awesome.
He's talking about when we were talking about, innovation and machines and
right.
all of
Okay.
that stuff. Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
there's a guy that's old as dirt and doesn't like change for shit, man. But
Yeah.
but
Good old
man,
Wolfie.
Yeah. Love you, Wolfie.
Haven't seen you in a while, man. Yeah. Miss that raspy voice.
Yeah. Wolf is everything there, man. Wolfman.
Yeah.
But no, I mean he resists change, but he will come along reluctantly. I mean he definitely wants to learn more about what's going on, even though I think he's tattooing a little less and less these days, which he's getting old like the rest of us. Ugh.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is it's wild. Like whenever we were still doing conventions, I guess in 2019 or whatever, seeing each year going to a convention and seeing people like get older and older, and I'm like, wow, yeah, I'm doing that too. Like
yeah, no, and it's crazy because I mean, like I said, I took a lot of time to reflect in this last year, on different aspects of life and business and my career and everything. And what I love and hate is that stupid Facebook reminder photos that pop up all the time or whatever. I start seeing these things come up, pictures from 8-10 years ago when my hair was, it had some color, and it's just like, and to me, I look back and I'm like, wow, that was a blink of an eye. And all the old people say it to you all the time or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I get it. Life moves fast and da 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 da. But like the last decade has just blown by like astronomically. I just I don't know. And it's like I got 29 years in the business, Myke. I mean, that's a long time. That's significantly more than half my life. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I got like 28 somewhere around there. It's like the fuck.
we're catching up to Wolfie, man. Holy Jesus.
Yeah.
My voice is getting raspy. I'll never be as cool as him though. But anyways, you were talking a minute ago, you were talking about marketing these artists and everything, and then all the money you spend on advertising. I like to touch base on that a little bit. What do you use these days? What works best for you these days? Where do you spend your advertising dollar? Where do you see a return on that, man?
Google, Yelp.
You spend money in Google. That's awesome. And most individual artists or even shops, I don't think do that. They might throw a little bit of money at some of the social medias, but Google, man, that's the big dog. You want to win, man.
Yeah, that's why all the people are coming to my shops. No, I'm just kidding. It's mostly the work. Like you got to have the level of skill. You got to have the work, and then you got to get people to see it.
Yeah.
So if you can advertise all you want, but if you're going to point them at your work and it's not good enough, then it's not going to really matter that much. But yeah, people that are not advertising or not putting effort into getting seen, it's just, I don't know.
Okay. That leads me.
It's a long, hard road. you
Oh
know?
no, yeah. Well, the guys that still want to walk to work or ride their horse to work and sit begrudgingly in their shop and not talk to other shops and stuff like this, those people are, well, luckily few and far between these days. When I first had my shop, when I first opened my shop, on my days I was closed, I would jump in my car or my truck and drive around to other shops. And I don't know if I was just ignorant, but just walk in other people's shops and introduce themselves. Just introduce myself. Say, hey, I'm Mark. I tattoo 3 towns over and da 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 da. And I was just in the neighborhood, and I want to meet some other artists, and I would do that. And I had some doors slammed in my face, and I was told get the fuck out more than a time or two, back in the day. But I also built an awful lot of great relationships that way. People that I still know, decades later. And it just, I don't know, times are changing. I don't want to say I was way ahead of the times, but I think I was just a stupid young kid. And I didn't realize that, there was a 50-50 chance of me getting either punched or shot, going into some of these places. But I just wanted to know more about the business, because I came up in an area where it was illegal. I couldn't hang at the shops. I couldn't meet the older artists. So when I got around an area where there was other tattooers, natural curiosity took over, and that's just me. I want to know things. So, well, anyways, we're going on here quite a while here. There's one more topic, one more thing I haven't, you're going to be the first person I'm asking this to. It's something I want to start, bringing into a lot of my conversations with people, is I want to start asking other successful artists, what are 1 or 2 simple things, that 1 or 2 little tips that you would just tell somebody who's just starting out? What are 2 things that stick out in your head, 1 or 2, as advice?
Don't burn bridges. I think the first thing that popped in my head was don't burn bridges. Like, treat people with respect and dignity, no matter how cool you think you are or how cool you think you aren't. A lot of times there's an insecurity aspect of, thinking you're cool because you're really insecure, but we won't go there. But just treat everyone with respect and dignity, and try not to burn bridges along the way, because you may need those.
It can come back to bite you pretty hard.
Yeah. And also, tattooing is really difficult. It's really hard on you. Don't beat yourself up so much, do the best that you can, and grow with each tattoo, and try not to lose too much sleep at night, because I can tell you, 28, 29 years in, I still sit in bed at night thinking about the tattoo that I did that day, going, could I have made it better? Could I have done this? Could I have done that? And that's, I think, what inspires me to continue to grow and continue to take things to another level, and push myself. Because if I'm not pushing myself, if I'm not going forward, I'm going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And constantly just trying to, evolve as a person, as a tattooer, as an artist. I mean,
and
at the end of the day,
all have to be taken together collectively.
Yeah, because there's a person, there's an artist, and there's a tattooer, and you need that balance in every aspect of that.
I mean, I barely tattoo at all anymore, but when I was tattooing daily, I always just tell people, I don't think I've ever done a tattoo I was happy with. I'm accepting of them. I put my all into them every single time. And I had to get to the point, like you said, or I wouldn't beat myself up later in the day. But as long as the client's happy, that's everything right there. And all I can do is reflect upon it and apply a little more effort on the next one. And that's the most you can ask of yourself, really, without putting yourself into serious, deep depression. Because there's no such thing as a perfect tattoo. I've never seen one.
We're not, I the hardest thing is if I have a client and I'm sitting there and they're like, I came to you because your tattoos are flawless. The line work is perfect. And I'm like, all right, let me let you know real quick. I am not a computer. I am not a printer. Nothing is perfect. I can create the illusion, but it is not.
Mhm. I'm just good enough to hide my fuck ups where you can't see them. That's all.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure. And I'm just a person, and you know, the imperfection in this tattoo is you know, just the character.
It's all part of it.
It's all part of it.
Awesome,
Happy little
man.
mistakes.
Happy little mistakes. Yeah. Cool. I don't want to keep you too much longer. And basically, anything you want to touch on, man? I know you were pushing a van raffle or something there or whatever. Is that still moving forward, or is that done? What's going on with that?
It's a giveaway of donations. People donated and do a little drawing, and I'm actually doing that drawing tomorrow at 8. And then whoever wins the drawing, then I'm going to give them one of my classic boogie vans and some tattoos and stuff. That's all closed. It's all done.
Oh,
but
man. It's a sweet ass van too, man.
Thanks. Yeah, it's pretty rad. But my driveway is starting to look like a used car lot, and I gotta move some things around. I'm trying to go minimalist. I'm trying to get rid of like most of everything I got versus like getting stuff. I do want to give a shout out and tell people to check out Sorry Mom, which is my aftercare company that I'm partners in, half owner of Sorry Mom USA. And I want to encourage you guys to try it if you haven't. Although I think a lot of people really have, because sales have skyrocketed, like quadrupled, which is fucking amazing because it's amazing products. But check us out.
It is. I think we're low and need to order some ourselves. So,
well, definitely let me know, and we can get with you. There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a few products. We got a processed butter, which is a glide, and we have a revolutionary tattoo film, which you guys all know the different derm films and stuff, but this one is actually the only 100% clear film, so you can see through it whenever you're, hey, that's me in my hands. And that's my business partner Rasmus right below it from Denmark.
Nice. Shout
out to Rasmus. Rasmus is super awesome. He's such a great guy. And yeah, so I guess that's it. Mark, I really appreciate you having me on.
All right, man. I got to get you to do the whole like, share, and subscribe sales pitch to the folks for the channel.
Okay.
If you would.
Yeah. Guys, if you like this video or whatever, like, share, subscribe, so people can come back and check it out. I guess, I don't know, is that what you wanted? I'm not real good at this.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is locked in. It'll be out there forever and a day for people to go back through and look at and whatnot. And you know, we may do it again in the future. Maybe we'll do something live at a show together or whatever, or something. You know, might not be it may not be a 2-hour adventure like this, but hopefully this is just the beginning, because I love these chats with old friends, and that's all it is. It's you and me just shooting the shit. You know, we'll throw a little sales pitch in the end, because we both have products we need to sell to maintain our lifestyles. But for the most part, man, I just want people to know we're real. You know, you're real. They don't get much more real than Myke Chambers, really. I mean, you are, you know, talented, successful, humble. You've been through hell. You've hit the best of times, the worst of times. You're human like the rest of us, man. And that's what people need to understand. So love you, brother. I'm so glad you took the time out of your day. I hope I didn't hold you up too long, but wish you nothing but the best. And I hope to see you soon.
All right, brother. I love you too, man. Thank you.
Hey, that was fun. Now's the time when you